Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, David here, and welcome back to another video. As you've seen with the title of this video, today we're going to talk about Soul Hackers 2 and its first week of sales in Japan, and I'm going to share why I feel that those numbers are disappointing. Now, before I say anything else, I do want to say we don't know what the sales expectations of Atlus are for this title, so is it disappointing to them? Maybe not. Maybe they were not looking for a lot of numbers. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to compare the first week of sales in Japan for physical numbers of Soul Hackers 2, which just got announced, to other titles in the Devil Summoner series and also SMT recent titles, etc. So we're going to look at all of that together today. If you want to stay up to date on anything in terms of Atlus, Shin Megami Tensei, Persona, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Also, a quick thumbs up really helps to support the channel, and it takes a second if you like the video, of course, and feel free to drop a comment below and let me know what you think of the first week of sales for Soul Hackers 2. Now let's just get it straight out of the way. 52,000 copies. That's what Soul Hackers 2 sold across all platforms in its first week of sales in Japan, according to Famitsu. Now, what is this number? Is it something that we should absolutely worry about? Not necessarily. Let me explain though. The thing is, the game came out on all platforms except the Switch. So PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC. It's everywhere but Switch. And the obvious candidate for comparison is SMT5. Is it a good comparison? Not really. We're still going to look at the numbers really quickly, and then we'll look at the numbers of other Devil Summoner titles in Japan. Shin Megami Tensei 5 came out in November of 2021 on Nintendo Switch only. Of course, it's the next big mainline installment in the SMT series, popular series in Japan, but it was only on one system, Nintendo. The game sold 143,000 copies in its first week physically in Japan. So it sold 3 times the number of copies that Soul Hackers 2 did on all these platforms. Really makes you wonder if the lack of Switch port at launch was a good decision or not, right? That being said, it's a new IP in a way more popular series, so it's not a fair comparison. I fully agree on that one, but still, to give you an idea, SMT5 sold 3 times what Soul Hackers 2 did. Now we also need to look at other Devil Summoner titles, and for that I'm going to go onto Persona Central. They just dropped an article with the sales numbers that I'm reporting today, but they also have comparisons to first week of sales for Devil Summoner titles in Japan physically. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to compare numbers. Alright, so here it is. So once again, if you want to read the whole article by Persona Central, my sources always linked in the description down below. So if we look at other Devil Summoners, Devil Summoner titles and their first week of sales physically in Japan. So the original Devil Summoner, we don't have the official numbers for the first week. Soul Hackers on Sega Saturn, the original release sold 160,000 copies in its first week in Japan. That's on the Saturn back in 1997. The second Raido game, so versus King Abaddon, sold 76,000 copies in its first week physically. That was PlayStation 2 only, PlayStation 2 exclusive. Then the PlayStation 1 port of the original Soul Hackers sold 60,000 copies in its first week on PlayStation 1. Of course, that was a port. Then the 3DS version of Soul Hackers sold 73,000 copies. And the next best-selling game is Soul Hackers 2 on the PlayStation 4, which sold 31,000 copies, and PlayStation 5 is last with 20,000 copies, giving us 52,000 copies for Soul Hackers. We don't have the numbers for Xbox and PC, unfortunately. I don't assume that we have lots of copies to add on top, unfortunately, since PC gaming isn't as big in Japan as it is here in the West, and Xbox, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, because I want Xbox games, I want Atlus games on Xbox, and I want them to do well, we have to face reality. They don't sell as much as on other platforms, so that's why it did not even chart. So it's interesting. There's a lot of speculation that we can do, as you can see, even compared to other Devil Summoner titles, new ones, but also ports. It sold very, very poorly, and I have to assume that those numbers are probably disappointing at Atlus because, again, I'm going back to Sega's fiscal report for last year. They want to consider Soul Hackers a pillar IP in the future. So they want to make Soul Hackers stand next to Persona and SMT. Definitely not in terms of sales, but at least they wanted to be their third biggest branch for Atlus titles. And looking at those numbers, it really makes you wonder if we're even going to get another Soul Hackers game in the future. Maybe, maybe not. The game released close to a lot of bigger JRPGs, right? Xenoblade Chronicles 3, for example, and other games that are also coming in the near future. The lack of Switch version, I know some people won't like to hear this, but it's definitely one of the reasons why the numbers aren't as big as they are, because Switch in Japan, it is destroying all the other platforms, both in terms of console sales and also in software sales. The attach rate for software on Switch is insane, so the lack of Switch version clearly didn't help. I mean, even Nocturne HD doubled the sales on Switch and PlayStation of Soul Hackers 2 for physical sales in the first week of Japan. It sold over 100,000 copies, and we're at 50 here with Soul Hackers 2 being on more platforms. So it's interesting. It's a new game too, so it's, to me, I can't say I can't say otherwise. It's disappointing. It's underwhelming in my opinion. Again, we don't know what the expectations of Atlus were. I hope they were low. But even if they were low, that sounds extremely low. Now, it can pick up in the future, right? We've seen Atlus titles like 13 Sentinels being extremely underwhelming in terms of sales during its first week, but it picked up with word of mouth afterwards, which means it sold decently. Now, at this point, with those numbers, I can absolutely see Atlus porting the game to Nintendo in the future. I'm gonna go as far as to say I expect Atlus to port Soul Hackers 2 to Switch to give it another boost. They did it with all the modern Persona games. They did it with Tokyo Mirage Sessions. They did Catherine Full Body, Persona 4 Arena. So I expected. They even did it with 13 Sentinels that we just talked about, and it did decently once it came out on Switch. It almost sold as much as the original launch on PlayStation 4, and that was 2 years after the original 13 Sentinels released, and it was priced at full price too. So I expect a Switch port to arrive at some point. That, with all the negativity aside, I still think Soul Hackers 2 is a very solid game. I adored everything with it. I have issues with the game, but I really like it. Make sure to check out my review as well. I'll link it in the description. If you want to check out Soul Hackers 2, I want to give it a push. It still is a fantastic game. Although if you've been waiting for a Switch port, I think now more than ever, we're going to get it at some point. Definitely, it's probably the next big release for Atlus once the Persona games are out of the way. So late 2023, I think we're going to see some type of Soul Hackers 2 port to Nintendo. Those are my thoughts for the sales numbers of Soul Hackers 2, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give me your opinion on everything that I discussed today. Do you agree with my points? Do you think the number are really disappointing? Not that much? Describe what you think, please. I would be really interested in reading your thoughts. And once again, if you liked the video, a quick thumbs up is always a big help. You can also dislike if you disliked it. I don't mind. You have a great day, y'all, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.